you anticipate that they could do what they did, or did you foresee that kind of year out of both those guys?
You know, you can't foresee that. I mean, you're talking about two first-team all-conference guys, one of which is an All-American that last year had 20 catches for 150 yards.
Yeah.
The thing about Justin is you know, just work ethic-wise, he just was the same guy every day. I mean, he's an incredible practice player. The more he played, and this offense allows kids to get better every single day as well because they're just throwing and catching so much. So the fact that those two guys stayed healthy and did it every day for a whole year in this offense just really showed a bunch of improvement.
How much does what they brought to the table make what you guys did possible this year?
Yeah, they were pretty important. Like I said, that you know, every game you could tell Justin was the best guy on the field. It was evident. It didn't matter who we were playing, you could tell he was the best guy out there on the field. And the fact that, you know, Louisiana Lafayette, I mean, it was very obvious that, you know, Brandon relied on him too much, you know, because he would just throw it up and then Justin was able just to make play after play after play. But the fact that he was the best player on the field, you know, the whole year, us recognizing that and having that guy in the backfield to be able to free some stuff up outside was pretty important.
I know you guys had other pieces. I mean, like you talk about Bryant and Bo. I mean, the offensive line, clearly the other pieces were there. But to have a signal caller that seemed to get what you were doing and a receiver that could be that, I mean, those are kind of invaluable pieces, I would imagine.
You know, Justin, he's a smart football player now. I mean, there's I've coached a lot of them that didn't really understand the game, so to speak, but he understands the game. He's competitive. He would look at me from 30 yards downfield and figure out what the play is and either stay out there or come off. I mean, he just understood that and was pretty smart about how he gauged what he needed to be doing.
I don't want to pin it on just one guy, but how invaluable is it to have Wheaton in there and that experience and that he's been through pressure situations before? Would the season have gone as well as it gone without somebody like him at quarterback?
They improved. There was plenty of times early where I was ready to kill him. You know, he wasn't very experienced early. I mean, the guy had played one half of football in the previous, 7 years or whatever it was. So, you know, the fact that he improved so much is something that I'm pretty proud of. You know that, in that, there was a point in that A&M game in the second quarter that I was pretty uneasy about what he was doing out there. You know, and then he settled down in the second half. A lot of the stuff that he did bad in the first half, he did right in the second half. And he just learned from that and just kept getting better from there.
Was that a real watershed game for him, you felt like?
I think so. Because, he could have tanked it at halftime. Because he wasn't, he was getting sacked, he was missing reads, he was throwing bad balls. And we just calmed him down at halftime, and he went out there and played his butt off in the second half. So. That game and the Kansas State game, the two games that I can kind of pinpoint tons of improvement.
Do you feel like I think Brandon was asked about this maybe a week ago or so, that some of these guys get some thank you cards for the opportunity that you're getting here? Do you sort of feel that way? Like, I mean, obviously your system and they had to learn it, but hey, they really brought it.
It was a good mesh.
Yeah.
It was a good mesh.
Yeah.
And it wasn't me and it wasn't them. It was a collective effort. The pieces were in place and we meshed it and it worked, and I think we're all thankful for where we're at.
Yeah. Well, and that was sort of my initial question to you was, did you anticipate this? I was sort of wondering if you obviously wanted to go somewhere where what you do worked, but wow, it really worked.
Yeah, you couldn't foresee that a year ago. Yeah. I mean, I knew we were going to be picked 5th or 6th in the South, or whatever it was, but I also know that this was a pretty established program as well.
Mm-hmm.
How's this week for you? Is it bittersweet? You're leaving some guys that are going to come back next year and be playmakers, but of course you've got, your own personal step up coming up. Just talk about how this week is for you and what's ahead.
It's been good. If I didn't like where I was and what had happened this year, I wouldn't be here right now. You know, I'd be moving on to what my next opportunity is. But due to the fact that, you know, I care about all these guys on offense, and we've had success, and you know, it's pretty important to everybody to get to an 11th win. So, I mean, I've never been 11 before, so, you know, and these guys haven't, and the school hasn't either. So, because the mesh has been so good and it's been so enjoyable, it's been a fun week.
So I guess there's no like distractions and just too much overbearing or anything like that with being here.
No, I mean, I got zero responsibilities at West Virginia right now. I mean, that does not start till January 1st. So, you know, due to the fact that there's zero responsibilities, I can't recruit, can't coach, can't do anything for them right now. So it's allowed me to be able to be here and do this with 100% of my effort.
Was that a tough decision at all to come to? I mean, a lot of coordinators would just not call plays for the bowl game.
No, it wasn't, just because of how we do it. You know, with the communication with Brandon and I, the way it's been all year, it's just easy to keep doing that. If we would change that and have the communication be different, then it'd be harder on Brandon. So I didn't feel like it was fair, you know, to him or the rest of the guys to change things at this point when it's worked so well and our communication's been good and the relationship's pretty strong. So it seemed like the right thing to do.